to another El Camino video. Sorry for the delay. I know it's been a few weeks now, but yeah, I got to finally drive the car home. It's now in my garage about 3 weeks ago now, and yeah, if you watch my previous videos where I explained how the first LT4 crate engine that I had spun a rod bearing and seized up, yeah, it was a traumatic experience, and not gonna lie, it was a nightmare, and it was not looking good there for that month. You know, all the back and forth with GM, the two dealerships, and then yeah, the third-party shop that eventually ended up tearing down the old motor. But I just want to say I'm very thankful that GM stood behind their product and made the decision to send me a replacement engine. And it was actually pretty quick once they made the decision. I think my local dealership was actually able to track down this motor and have it shipped to their shop, I think within around 3 or 4 business days. And then I had the car running a few days after that, and happy to report no major issues, no problems, no leaks, nothing. So far I put about 347 miles on the car, I believe. Not a ton of miles, but I've just been driving it here and there, just kind of cruising, having fun, you know. And I gotta say, this car is everything I wanted it to be, everything I thought it would be. It's great. I love it so far, and you know, I really hope that you know, I made my grandfather proud, because without him, this wouldn't have been possible. You know, this was his baby. You know, he always wanted this LT4. He wanted a Tremec T56. I'm just glad he had good taste. And I was dumb enough to take on this project. But yeah, I couldn't be happier. Another thing I wanted to mention is, you know, I thought it was really cool to see all the people that reached out and commented when I made the video about the engine seizing up. You know, I'm just some shitty, small YouTube channel with less than 300 followers. But yeah, you know, it was really nice to see there's some good people out there, and you know, they're just very supportive. You know, a lot of people that watch the videos, and yeah, I just thought it was really cool. So I just want to say thank you guys for watching, and you know, thank you if you're one of the people that commented. And then another topic I wanted to cover in this video, because nobody really talks about it, or so far that I've seen. I think there's one other YouTube channel that's done a breakdown, is how expensive this swap is. And man, I kind of wish someone told me how expensive it was going to be. I knew it would be expensive, but I don't think you really have any idea until you get into this, and you just keep having to order stuff over and over, and yeah, it seemed to never end. But you know, obviously there's some things I'd like to do to the car, like brakes, suspension, probably a different rear end, have the car tuned. But that's going to be probably far down the road, because I got to save up some money for that. But yeah, basically, this is my book of receipts. I still need to kind of file some of these away. But yeah, all of these, just pages and pages and pages and pages of receipts. It's crazy. So I thought it'd be cool just to do a quick walk around, point some things out, and at the end just explain what I'm into this car and how much you can kind of expect if you decide to go a similar route buying a brand new crate engine. So let's check it out. And then this will probably be in no particular order. This will just be everything that kind of comes to mind, all the big stuffs, you know, all the basics. There's probably gonna be a ton that I'm forgetting, but we'll start with the motor itself. So for this crate engine, it I believe after taxes and everything from Summit, it was about $18,000. And then this crate engine does not come with a starter, you know, alternator, power steering. So you have to figure all that stuff out. So for that starter, I think it was around 200 bucks. And then you have to buy a heat shield for the starter. You got to get the bolts to hold the heat shield on. You have to buy a pigtail connector to wire the starter. And then you have to buy the starter bolts. And then for alternator and power steering, I ended up going with Holley. And I think for both of those, it ended up being around, I want to say 3,500 bucks. And then keep in mind, some of these prices are with tax. That's not reflecting what just it cost itself for the product. And some of these prices might be wrong. I'm just kind of going off memory. And then this engine does not come with any of these lines for the oil catch can or oil separator, whatever you want to call it. So there's one on the passenger side, the driver's side, and then there's this other one that runs back into the intake. And then speaking of intakes, this one was about $600. I probably could have cheaped out and got a much cheaper one, but I'm very happy with this one. I get compliments on it anytime I pop the hood. People love it. So in my opinion, it was money well spent. And then basically all the hoses, all the hose clamps, that costs a small fortune, not to mention the oil cooler that's on this car. You have to buy all the lines, all the fittings. It gets pretty spendy just with fittings alone. And then with that power steering pump down there, it does not come with a reservoir. So this is Holley's power steering pump reservoir. So I believe that was like 160 or 160 to $200, somewhere in there, just for that guy. And then you have to run your own lines, the feed and return. And then, you know, just those lines and the fittings, I think that was like another couple $100, not to mention the adapters you need to run into that stock steering box down there. And then with the supercharger cooling system, I had to buy these two adapters up here. I think that was like $100 and something, somewhere in there. And then had to buy the supercharger coolant tank here. I think that was another couple $100, or I think this tank itself was like $200. This cap was $60, plus the adapters, which is kind of stupid. I probably could have found a different option, but this was the best one I could find on Summit that would work. And then the supercharger coolant pump actually comes with the LT4 crate engine, but if you were to buy that separately, it'd be around $300, but luckily it comes with the engine itself. And then you can't really see it, but I had to go with a heat exchanger. So I went with like a Mishimoto heat exchanger or intercooler, whatever you want to call it. I think that was around $200-300, somewhere in there. And then I had to buy this radiator. I think this radiator was around $400. I probably could have used the stock one and, you know, just ran a goofy long radiator hose all the way to this side because that's where the port is. But I decided to go with this one, just make it clean. And then with this fan, so this is a fan out of like a newer Camaro. So it's a pulse width modulation fan. And that fan itself, I think, was around $300 and I want to say like $40 or something after tax. So it was pretty spendy, but that thing works great, man. I haven't had any issues with cooling whatsoever, and the car seems to run anywhere from like 197. The hottest I've seen it get with this fan is like, I think 204. Fun fact, so if you buy the GM engine controller kit, from what I've heard from a couple different people, that one you can't run a pulse width modulation fan off of. So I went with SpearTech. So SpearTech made the harness, and SpearTech was able to figure it out. And basically there's just one wire, this little brown wire, and then it actually turns into a green wire that comes off the harness back here. Where is it at? Yeah, that guy right there. And that's just the one wire that tells that fan to kick on. And then that fan has a positive and negative basically straight to the battery. And then it does have an 80 amp fuse. But yeah, back to the engine controller kit. So I believe that was like $2,400, maybe $2,500, somewhere in there from SpearTech. And then that comes with the harness, the computer, the fuel pump module, and then I also had them send me the O2 sensors and then the MAF sensor. And as you can see, everything is like labeled, very detailed, and man, those guys are awesome. Very, you know, easy to work with, and they answered all my dumb questions. They were very helpful, and I didn't have any issues plugging this car and getting it running. So I highly recommend SpearTech. But moving on with the car, so the transmission. Just for the transmission itself, I think after tax, it was around $3,500. Plus you need the install kit, you know, it comes with the bell housing, the clutch, and everything else you need. I think after tax and shipping, that was another $3,500. So about $7,000 just for the transmission and the bell housing, the clutch and all that. Not to mention you need to buy a clutch line separately. I had to buy a Willwood master cylinder, Willwood clutch pedal, and then all the fittings and adapters to make that work. So that was probably another, gosh, I don't know, maybe around $500 for all that stuff, just alone. And then a custom drive shaft had to be made. That was about $400 or $500, I want to say. And then I had to have this fuel tank made for this Z01 pulse width modulation fuel pump. So this was custom made. I want to say this was around $2,600, $2,700 just for that. And then not to mention, you have to buy all the fuel line, all the fittings and everything. I bought a fuel filter, so for all that, I believe that alone, just for the fuel system, was about $500. Yeah, so those are kind of the big key items that you'll need. There's a ton that I'm forgetting, I'm sure, but yeah, it adds up very quickly. So I'll tell you what I spent. So I kind of added everything up, so I just did like a spreadsheet, you know, front and back, you know, most of the receipts. I still have to add up a few other things. But basically, if you were to do the swap only, this is what it cost me just to do the swap and all the parts. So $40,662.50 is what it costs just for the swap alone. And then keep in mind, that's not including some of the tools you need to buy. Like we had to buy, you know, an engine hoist. I had to buy an expensive pair of snips to do the fuel line, to cut that steel braided fuel line. And it's well worth the money in my opinion. I did buy that engine pre-oiler. That was about $200, and those snips were about $200. And then I bought some AN wrenches. I kind of broke down and just ended up buying those because it made life way easier. Some soft jaws. So keep in mind, there's some tools. You may already have those. That might not be a big deal to you, but if you're starting from scratch like I did, I needed to buy all that stuff. So, keep in mind, there's more receipts I have to add up, like oil changes, what it costs for all the coolant, you know, just all that little stuff that adds up. And then here's what I'm into the car right now. Basically, why it's around 47 grand is these wheels. So I didn't need these wheels by any means, but in my opinion, it definitely makes the car, and I'm very happy. So with these wheels and tires, after they're mounted and balanced and everything, and taxes, I think they were about 6 grand. So pretty spendy wheels and tires. Again, you can sure find a cheaper option, but this is what I thought looked good, and I don't regret it at all. I love the way this car looks, and I get so many compliments on it. But all right, guys, that's probably going to do it for today's video. But yeah, I thought it'd be cool just to do an update, talk about some future plans, and more importantly, just go over, you know, the cost and what it takes to do this swap, in case there's anyone out there thinking about going the same route I did, buying everything brand new, and what it's going to take. Please keep in mind, there's probably a ton that I missed that I couldn't remember off the top of my head, and all the little stuff adds up. It was definitely expensive, but like I said, that's what I paid. This is my experience. I know someone out there has a buddy that did it cheaper, or you did it cheaper. You know, I could have gone a bunch of different ways. I could have bought a motor out of a wrecked ZL1 or Cadillac CTSV or Corvette Z06, bought a used transmission. You know, I could have bought a LT1, put a LT4 supercharger on it. I think that's possible. You know, just a ton of different things that I could have done. But this is what I ended up doing, and this is what it cost me. And then keep in mind, you know, I did most of this myself. You know, my brother definitely was a huge help. You know, he's knowledgeable. He helped out a lot with the fabrication, and I could not have done it without him. But me and him basically did this ourselves. So I don't even want to take into account what it would cost to have a shop do this. What shop labor now? Well over $100 an hour. So I could only imagine what it would cost. And then also keep in mind some of the prices that I was listing off, that's with tax. So I live in Washington, so that's, you know, 9% sales tax on everything. So that's why, another reason why everything was so expensive. And then with this car, in my case, I was able to sell the motor and transmission that came out of it. I think I made around $5,500. I sold the wheels and tires that came off of it for around $500. I sold the radiator, so I was able to get some of my money back just selling parts that came off this car. So yeah, every situation is different. But yeah, guys, I just kind of wanted to go over everything and, you know, like I said, explain what this would cost in case there's anyone out there, because I know there's limited information on LT4s. At least that's the way it seems to me. And, you know, when I was doing this build, there wasn't a whole ton of information. So hopefully this is helpful to someone out there. Anyways, guys, enough of me rambling on. As always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.